So, mistake number one, trying to appeal to everyone. And what happens when clinicians try to do that? They scatter their time, energy, and finances trying to reach out to everyone. And so, marketers know that you can't possibly have a budget to reach and convince every single person in the world about your service. So we all have to narrow our focus down, um, and we have to do that in multiple ways. Uh, uh, Alternative medicine practitioners frequently try to be a magician, guru, or expert of every single disease, and that's impossible. The body's vast. The body is complex. Even within the context of a single modality like Ayurveda, I couldn't possibly be an expert in every single disease. I run a school. I'm working with teachers all the time. I'm studying all aspects of Ayurveda all the time, but there's just no way I could be an expert of every disease. But when we look out into the world and see successful practitioners, Dr. Ox, Deepak Chopra for some, or Dr. Oz, we see these examples of people that seem to know it all. Dr. John Douliard. These practitioners that sort of seem to know it all, and generally they have teams of people working with them. But we feel a certain insecurity and vulnerability if we can't seem to have all the knowledge they have or appear as awesome and awe-inspiring as them or something, right? Some little insecurity pops up inside our head, and then we go out and still try to, learn a little more, or oh yeah, what about that disease, or what about this disease, or I need to know another 50 herbs, and it's withering, right? It's like a war of attrition against your own brain to try to go down that path. And that's not the only way that people scatter their resources. As I mentioned, they can scatter their finances or their marketing budget trying to take a sort of shotgun approach to advertising. But also, even in their networking and socializing in the community, they could try to branch themselves out in too many different directions. So we got to keep it tight, and we've got to focus on a single successful group that where we can where our message can penetrate that group, build awareness, and where we can build a really high value of service. So that's really important. We have to remember our clients are each of your clients has one problem. They don't have every problem. So they're not looking for a clinician that can solve every problem. Think about yourself. Suppose you suddenly got the bad news that you were suffering from multiple sclerosis. Would you then go out and what would be the next thing you would do? Would you go out and Google uh, I would, a practitioner who's awesome at everything? Or would you Google a practitioner who's awesome at MS, right? What are you going to look for? You might, what are some search terms you might use? You might use natural health multiple sclerosis if you're interested in natural health. Or you might look up diagnosis and treatment of multiple sclerosis, right? Those are the kinds of search terms that you are going to use when you are looking for help, right? So a client doesn't Google practitioners who are good at everything. They Google practitioners who are good at something. And if you're not the best at that problem, they're going to find somebody else. Let's consider two doctors. The first doctor says on their marketing, I have spent 10 years studying the application of Ayurveda to arthritis. And if you're not an Ayurveda person on this call today, insert the word acupuncture or massage therapist or yoga therapist or whatever it is that you do for the word Ayurveda anywhere I use it. So doctor number one has spent 10 years studying the application of Ayurveda to arthritis. Practitioner number two has spent 10 years studying Ayurveda's approach to every disease. If you have arthritis in your knee, which one will you go to? Right? And then consider in your own marketing, are you promoting yourself as you can solve every problem, or are you convincing your client, a specific client, you can solve their problem? Right. So one way that you can get around this issue of trying to appeal to everyone is refocusing your messaging on your website, on your business card, on your flyers, or whatever other marketing and promotional materials that you're doing, is focusing on the relief of symptoms, the relief you provide to the symptoms of a specific problem, and redirect focus away from how awesome you are or how awesome your qualifications are, because as soon as you're trying to outcompete every practitioner in your town on how awesome you are, it's again a war of attrition. Who manages to convince the client that they're the awesomest? First of all, it's really empty. That's really empty. And second of all, it's just you get lost in the crowd that way, right? Every practitioner is saying that they're awesome. So how are you different? Okay. Consider these two ads. One says has a picture of a person, and underneath it, it says, "The longest time in my life I have been migraine free." And the next ad says, "I have 10 years of experience as a nutritionist." Now, which one speaks to the client's main need and main concern? Now, in our pre-call conversation, one of the clinicians, we were chatting a little bit informally, and one of the clinicians said that they were able to get people interested in the topic, or interested in alternative health, but they didn't engage. And oftentimes this is one of the reasons, is that the clinician hasn't convinced the client that they have vast knowledge of the client's specific problem, that they have an abundance of help that they could give about the unique suffering that the client has. And instead, they're focusing on general benefits that the modality provides. In acupuncture, you typically see uh, this very common list of topics that a clinician can solve: arthritis, pain management, women's health, just to name a few. Digestive disorders. Ayurveda, you see skin care, digestive health, postpartum care, right? And practitioners will like list all of them. But then the person who is has a limited budget, right? Your client has a limited budget. They might be dropping, $200 on a consultation with you. What's going to get them to part with that $200 is just a really abundant clarity that you are the great person to go to for that problem. Okay, and that's what is going to convince them. And so focusing on putting things like statistical outcomes that your clients get. Wow, great proof that their investment is not worthless, right? So as a general sort of compromise, you can, instead of trying to be a jack of all trades, master of none, it's better to be a jack of all trades, master of one. Right? It's okay to have to spend a little bit of time knowing a bit about every disease, or all the major ones. That's a good thing to do, but make sure that you are focusing a substantial amount of time each week on your specialty. All right. So you can really only be a thought leader in one subject only. Maybe you'll get two. Maybe you'll get to two. Right. And healers are thought leaders. Right. We're all here today as thought leaders, especially in alternative medicine. But even any medical professional, you go to a doctor because the doctor knows something that you don't. Maybe because the law prevents you from prescribing antibiotics for yourself, and you need the doctor to prescribe it. But in alternative medicine, your client can access every single treatment you can offer on their own, usually. So the only reason why they're coming to you is because you know something they don't. Now, I want to just talk a little bit about the origins of this trying to appeal to everyone. And the origin is schools, right? I run a school. And so I know this, but generally, schools market themselves as gurus of the whole field because they're educating practitioners who are going to go out in multiple different areas. And remember, as schools, we have a team of teachers and often a team of people working on the curriculum. There's no way I could have written the entire curriculum that we offer at Joyful Belly. I wouldn't have even wanted to do that because I want our students to get a diversity of perspectives, and they do get a diversity of perspectives, right? So a clinician signs up, goes to a school, and the school is marketing themselves as like good at everything from soup to nuts, right? But that is not what that is not what makes practitioners successful. That's what makes schools successful. So students go out and mimic the school's marketing material instead of what works for the clinician. And so we just have to like, switch gears, right? If you went to an Ayurveda school and then you're looking at your school's marketing materials, you're barking up the wrong tree because your school is not marketing to clients; they're marketing to clinicians. So that's pretty important. Uh, just to remember that. All right. Here's a little quote here. No more spending your money on targeting everyone and anyone. Focus more on narrowing your approach to the specific clients that want and need your help. Focus on marketing the specific specialized care that you provide and the medicines that you have handcrafted that will allow you to target and grab that audience that needs your services and products.